Welcome to the next project. Today we're working on a 3D print base for a router to go with a routing guide template. This is a 6mm thick MDF that you can make. Cut a piece off. Use this base to cut the slit in it, which will be perfectly centered then. You can then stick this to your neck blank. Use this tool to cut in your truss rod trenches. Pretty cool, pretty simple. Idea is all borrowed roughly from StewMac. They have a template like this, but it's acrylic and it's rather expensive. And also from Texas Toast, they have a slightly different looking template. Serves the same purpose, and both of those templates work primarily with a router base with an insert like this that rides in that groove. But you have to buy the template to use the base. What I'm doing is you have a chunk of MDF. If you can make the base, you can use the base to create the slit in your guide. Then you're going to town. Let's take a look at what's going on and a few other ideas that are added onto this a little bit later, so stay tuned as we continue the next project. Okay, so all that intro yakety yak is out of the way. What we are doing is using a 6mm thick piece of MDF or 1/4 inch thick piece of MDF, cutting it to 100 millimeters wide by whatever length you want. If you want a guitar scale length, you'd cut it like 2 feet long. If you want a bass scale length piece, you'd make it roughly 3 feet long. You can do the math on that. We'll 3D print the base that we're going to use for this. And if you don't have a 3D printer, you can actually make this base out of MDF if you want, or plywood or something else. This base has centering lines built into the base, so you can drag it along the piece of MDF and mark a center line. We're going to do a little test of concept work here. We have got some double-sided adhesive tape stuck on the imaginary neck blank. This is just a piece of pine cut to one of those guitar shapes. Use your imagination. Adding some stops so the base of the router can only go so far. This is to simulate the area that we travel of routing to actually happen in. Putting the router in the 3D base and doing a pass using a 1/4 inch spiral bit in this case, going from one stop to the other. Cutting in shallow passes. Typically, you'd set your depth of cut half of the width of the bit. So if you have a 1/4 inch bit, you'd only do an 1/8 inch deep pass at the most. Moving one of the stops so we can do a test routing for the barrel adjustment end of the truss rod. And again, just doing a few quick passes. And this is not a full depth routing at this point. This is just a test of concept. And it looks like the concept works. I think we'll be able to find other opportunities to use this whole design idea, at least. I have a guitar neck that's going to get 6mm carbon fiber rods. However, I don't have a 6mm bit. I do have an 1/8 inch bit. So I have to offset my center line appropriately. I'll cut in one direction, turn the whole base around 180 degrees, cut back, and I'll end up with a 6mm wide carbon fiber rod trench. So you can see I have an offset direction mark, and this base is pretty much set up just for doing a 6mm carbon fiber rod, but the options are endless. We could create all sorts of different offset bases, probably even an adjustable base, but we'll save that for another day. So let's give this offset base a quick test. We're using the same MDF guide template. It will be stuck to the center line of where the carbon fiber rod is going to go, not to the center of the neck any longer, but where the rod will go. I'm sticking that in place with some double-sided tape using an 1/8 inch straight bit in this case. My offset router base, once again on our guide template that we used for cutting a truss rod also. I cut in one direction, I rotate the base around 180 degrees, and I route back, and using this 1/8 inch wide bit in this manner gives me a 6mm wide trench for the 6mm sized carbon fiber rods. Ooh, that's a mouthful. Oh, my brain hurts. Well, it appears the concept works and the carbon fiber rod fits the trench properly, so let's move on to a real-world application. Here we are. We have a Gibson-inspired neck that we're working on. This is a 3-ply laminated mahogany neck. It's actually plenty strong. It probably doesn't need carbon fiber rods, but we're going to put them in anyway because we can. Marking out locations of where I want the rods to start and stop, finding center for where the carbon fiber rods are going to fit within the neck, attached the routing guide template, put on my stops so the router will only go so far. Don't want to overshoot where I want to start or stop. Cutting in one direction, picking up the router, rotating the base 180 degrees, basically plunging it back down in and cutting back to where I started. And that will yield a total of a 6 millimeter wide trench when I'm done. Again, taking very shallow passes. This is an 1/8-inch bit, so I'm probably only cutting 1/16 of an inch deep per pass. But everything looks good, it's fitting, little bitty wood chips are flying all over. Life is good. Cutting the carbon fiber trenches into mahogany goes really, really well. It's a nice wood to work with, easy cutting compared to maple or such. So it's a good first real-world test of this process. And while I was working on this, I also started to dream up some other additional things. I've actually made some centering pieces that you can drop into the slit, since this is a 1/2-inch wide slit in the base guide template there. Say you're working on something that's a strange length and you can't see your centering marks on either end of your guide template. Well, we can drop in these centerer finders into the MDF template and use those to align or find our center lines. Those 3D elements will be available as well as the router bases. As we dream up more ideas, I'll try to make them available. I think we're in pretty good shape. Everything seems to be working. The truss rod trenches turned out great. The carbon fiber rods did get epoxied in. The truss rod fits in the channel great. This neck is ready for the following steps, which there are plenty. That's about it, guys. 3D files will be available. There'll be a link in the description below. There's a lot of other 3D stuff available. It's free to the taking. I just ask that you use it for your own personal use, not to create a print farm and, make money from these designs. Thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate it. Please subscribe if you haven't done so. Ring the bell, leave comments. Love hearing from everybody all around the world. Until next time, take care of yourself and those around you. Bye.